So first of all, I would like to say Tashi Delik to everyone. Can you hear it with the fan?
It's okay.
Can you hear us well? Not so well. Should I go in this? Could we turn it a bit lower? Can we get a prayer book? Thank you. So then we will start the session with a prayer. So as an introduction to Buddhism, I think at this point it is important to understand that with any kind of action, prayers, anything you undertake in terms of Buddhist practice, we always kind of start with a prayer and then we conclude with a dedication prayer in the end. And so as such, we start with the prayer on page number 6 and try to pay attention to the words. Yes. Sanje chona lai chanju bade dani chazu chin dage jinso jibe tsonang jin dolai penjin sanje dubai sho sanje cheda suje chona lai chanju bade dani chazu chin dage jinso jibe tsonang jin dolai penjin sanje dubai sho sanje chedan suje chona lai chanju bade dani chazu jin dage jinso jibe tsonam ji dolai penjin sanje dubai sho Sunjian Tangji Dawa Dolma Judai Dembare Juji Dunye Dai Dunye Ge Judai Tawai Juji Dunye Mebe Dawa Thangpa Dai Mindawa Juji Nyerian Chada Nyinda Dewe Danyam Chimbo Lai Nebore Juji Sunjian Tangji Dawa Dolma Judai Dembare Juji Dunye Dai Dunye Ge Judai Tawai Juji Dunye Mebe Dawa Thangpa Dai Mindawa Juji Nyerian Chada Nyinda Dewe Danyam Chimbo Nebore Juji Sunjian Tangji Dawa Dolma Judai Dembare Juji Dunye Dai Dunye Ge Judai Tawai Juji Dunye Mebe Dawa Thangpa Dai Mindawa Juji Nyerian Chada Nyinda Dewe Danyam Chimbo Lai Nebore Juji Ani chen sama ani saja kasakane tatharin bochi den thodne kale khai jira ani ta nganzo dela chranzo chhe thön de ni chile nganzo ta jeja dela ani lamzo na sonda ani lojong sije marwa tinje ge thola nganzo chik samno tangwa ina unne thane gi susu mitsu na lo lan chingwa tang thoye gi tene dire do ra jeja nyu che nyu ine koya
la ani kalonta chigi kodewu sano tamtang ju dejidu dang the jede de chade restra.
Yes. So then, as all of you have come here from different places, and in this kind of unagreeable weather, striving for spirituality or striving for spiritual practices, then I welcome all of you here. And then when we look at the topic and the text that we are going to study for the duration of this course, it is the three principal aspects of the path and the eight points of mind training, or 8 verses of training the mind. And even though when we look at these two texts, they are quite short, but then even though these texts are short, then when we look at the content of these texts, then these texts can really offer us the tools to really transform our lives. Bless you.
So logi pachi so lo duo ji chewa ina tela pa nyembo ten dang ro chi lo jongdar la di ta ngandu chi dang gi chi dang gi shi ro ina ngandu chi shen gi chu de chi so sa sa wa shi ro chi la chi la ora tanda lo jongdar la la chi lo nyemba ji chewa na di pa pa ya la ngandu gi ani di lo do sho ro ka de san dang tene ji da ani di kom la tene ani lo duo di pa nyu do ya da ya di ya.
So herein, it is important to understand when we look at a text such as the 8 verses of training the mind. Then normally when we look at the manner in which we think about training the mind, then in most contexts we think about it in terms of gaining more knowledge, or we kind of have an academic approach towards what we call training the mind. But herein it is important to understand this is not what exactly it means when we say training the mind. Simply we can understand it in this manner. What exactly do we mean by training the mind? As we begin to notice that there are many negative aspects or negative qualities of the mind which consume and overwhelm us over the course of our lives, which makes it a little bit difficult for us to live our lives, then we train our mind by cultivating what is called the proper antidotes to these negative aspects of the mind, these negative qualities of the mind. And in this process, by training in the antidote, or cultivating the antidote to these negative aspects of the mind, then naturally positive aspects of the mind begins to develop, and as such the negative aspects and qualities of the mind can be overcome. This is what we mean by training the mind.
Yamang azu deshi ande ledu khashi legda. Tadi ding nyamne chewana chung samang azu lenjo ro chi dos. De len tu samale. Da sanu tanda la le ro. Katule ende ro jo de jablo la so le khesan chimbo chi ro. Ande shi yuni chi te tang di ra.
So then when we taught these texts before, then the kind of initial reaction of the many participants that we noticed was along the lines of saying that, okay, if we kind of try to practice what is taught in a text such as 8 verses of training the mind, then it seems that in the course of our life we always have to take the losses upon ourselves all the time, and this kind of sounds impossible. But herein I would like to address that even though initially we might have such a reaction to it, when we kind of study the text, then we begin, I think we will come to a place wherein we begin to realize that the scope of our motivation, as well as the perspective that we cultivate with regards to the adverse situations that we face in our life, can have a big impact in the manner in which we suffer or we are able to overcome such situation.
Tana ga le chi de lang so na so ra. Tina lo ji cha zo ri ga la na nyen chung shang sen yang ta ba ta so de ra. Ta da tari do do ro le ani ga zo ge ang chu go de ti chi ani ti je la koran zi sam chu ro shen ra. De ngo go ya go pa do da she go ya kyong zu gi she go ya ka ri ni ha ko na ani yang de la pa be ke she ra. Ni yang pen do che thong do ra. tinde che ani kilo koranzala yan tuwa ani tede neje tun turima tun ya sanji jaya ra ani tikal she.
So then the other text is the three principal aspects of the path. Now the path herein refers to the spiritual path, and in terms of the three principal aspects that one needs to cultivate in your spiritual path, then these are the three principal aspects that one must pay attention to. At first, developing true renunciation, and then on the basis of that, to cultivate what is called the awakening mind of bodhicitta, an altruistic intention, and then the wisdom of emptiness. So I'm trying to introduce to you in a very short manner the kind of contents of the two texts that we will explore over the course of over the duration of this course. And now, as I always like to do, after this we will have a sort of a short introduction to what exactly is Buddhism and its practices. And then after that, I want to hear from all of you about the intention with which you have come here to attend this course and the kind of expectations that you have with regards to the course. Because I think it is important to take into account these expectations and intentions so that I can address these in the duration of the course.
당아도 찌당이 추래라 추기 냠네 치고 찌 가르나 찌 대치 뭐야 치더라 아 디사야 돈도 된데다 된찌 쇼로 떠고 치더 말아 추래데 치운도라 아니 당아도 나추 돈 시워네 아니 소소기 센주 마른 바디파 메버스네 라 아니 로 두어디파 야가쇼라 버쥐에들 아니 가서 추래 치더라 다치단게 레자 토라 시워네 가서 다르말레이다 Dharamshala. Today in the Galayan, Tilashina, Chitamambuju, Penangazo, Chile, the Karelana, and Nichi, Quad and Yasunle, Masawa, the Layan Zimba, Yan Kalore Jaba, Tendicilla, Tile and Zimba, the Latin Chile, and Shilla, rest.
So then, when we are talking about the purpose of cultivating a spiritual practice in our lives, then I think first it is important to understand the purpose of spirituality and what it means. Spirituality, the purpose of spirituality is different from the manner in which we think about the purpose of a livelihood. It is not about earning a livelihood. It is not about having a means of livelihood. So what exactly is the purpose of spirituality? From the Buddhist perspective, the purpose of spirituality is to help us to transform the negative qualities of the mind into something positive. And this is a simple way to explain it. Now, when we look at the actual Sanskrit word for spirituality, how we refer to spiritual practices in Buddhism, then the original word seems to be dharma, sometimes also called dharam. Now, there are many different interpretations and connotations of this word dharma. One of the interpretations or the connotations of this word dharma is that which holds us from the pits of suffering, pits of suffering. So something that can help us to overcome suffering is understood as a spiritual practice.
다치단 얘가 좀 미신이더라. 심지 돈로다 차다 지우든 저기 취치기 말아. 다 밀래디 취치는 취들에 줄lun다면 잠이가라. 먼저 이슈 같이 힌두 카리네 줄lun만 보여. 줄루 상막이 망아지지 잠다 아니 지잠바다 저와다 된데가는 시기다. 선바삼부 저고야 밀라 로빠체고. 또 상마 지중로라. 된데 인디 줄루라 가진 게다요 말해. 있는 잠자 취 지슈기 진이기 아니 지기 계시는 뒤만들 때는 양아서 두번 테스트 중 거라. 다 늦어 인디가랑 안한 저 취세니디 다 미 취래디 지워라. 제디가 아니 되니 취루 남편서 삼아 텐디저에 뺏기죠 뭐. 가서 취루 삼아 가져라 지기. 미 인도와 밀 팽이 치도 손이라. 봐. 근데 인디가 아니 소소기 취루 가를 냠내 제기나 가서 취루 빠서 남편저 직질로 고도배야다. 아니 파기를 내자요나 소소래야. 소소기 내자요나 파티야. 텐디저고에 뺏기죠 뭐다.
So then now as we understand that such is the purpose of spirituality, then we can safely at this point say that it is only only human beings who strive for such a purpose. It is not the birds and animals who strive for spiritual practice. Now, when we understand this, then I think it is important to understand the common ground that all spiritual traditions have, irrespective of their faith, their beliefs and ideology and so forth. When we look at the core teachings of all spiritual traditions across the world and across time, that at their core, all of them have the messages of love, kindness, compassion and so forth. So as such, when we talk about cultivating a spiritual practice, it is important to have the understanding that all spiritual traditions must we must have respect for all spiritual traditions, and as such we must strive to achieve what we call spiritual harmony or religious harmony.
근데 이디다 가지고 다 디산 템담은 인지네 힌디나 가리네 요라 아니 줄은 담은 내가지 대비라 대가서 파스 로에 백해 전부다 라 발로네 아니 된다고네도 하고는 수수 레차다 수수기 미츠나로 이나래 수수기 지칼로래 빵랑 어디 레차 빼아보도 수수를 미츠 챈들레 펜나 시말레 펜 근데 지레서는 슬래야지 근데 매번 코스를 샤샤ን디 거라 인지미지가서 파스 로에 대 백해 전부다 라
So then, when we understand that there is indeed an undeniable need for spiritual harmony, then the manner in which we can achieve such religious harmony is only through trying to understand the teachings of another spiritual tradition, because in this day and age, information is very accessible. We can always read books, scriptures of other religious traditions, and if we open ourselves in this manner, then we can look forward to learning from different spiritual traditions. And if we are able to do this, then we can hope to indeed achieve harmony between religious or spiritual traditions.
Depending on the natural level, so low marumba de bachuni and loya, jetu sorella. Depending on the pero shine, control line. Control the line, and Katu Suzuki Tangati, Jakatabsana, Gagina, the Jella and Kangi Mambu suicide. Ra. And he says, depending on control Shuchamola and the Chimila Tupadojan, Susanga, Doguela Soba, Suzunami, Pitu, Pinja, Tama, Maraya, Soya. 아니 직타나 소소소 조미 개장 차양인 가도 와 아니 딸 린데 갈시로는 저 슈망아서 소소야 지 녀손을 제로 라 근데 인디가 그 딜 아니 그 콘도디 빵와이나 아니 게체카르도 라 소소를 녀마 토마와 센들레 데와 시말레 데와 근데 산 마부 따야다 제가 로기 근데 지상도 그 라시 쥐 차는 거라 다가 정도 술로디 쥐어쇼 가서 로 두어디 메바 차쇼 야데 제 쇼래 삼지기 되입니다 봐 로 두어디 칸데스 빵오도 로 두어디 ngö시니 디 가르네고도 단다 텔라 가르네고도 풀라 가르네고도 라한다라 가르네 젠라 가르네 참마 삼베고는 산시 따와이나 그라시 그 아데데 고야민도 되야시 가서 로 쩨고다.
So then now coming back to the Buddhist perspective on spiritual practice and the manner in which one cultivates a spiritual practice, then I think it is important to understand what do we exactly mean by transforming the negative qualities of the mind into positive qualities of the mind. Now, before we can begin to kind of begin this process of transformation, it is important to kind of understand that from the Buddhist perspective, transformation is understood in this manner, as we already said, that we strive to transform the negative qualities of the mind into something positive. Then as such, it is first important to identify the negative qualities of the mind which besets us, which makes us suffer. And as such, there is a process of contemplation first, wherein, for example, when we look at a particular emotion such as anger, then we need to recognize anger as anger. And then we begin to kind of contemplate in this manner that even though when we kind of react out of anger, feeling that it is justified, even though for immediate purposes we feel like, okay, I gained something out of reacting in this manner, but then we begin to kind of, from the Buddhist perspective, we begin to kind of contemplate further to see if there are any immediate negative consequences as well as far-reaching negative consequences in reacting out of anger to a particular situation, how it affects your relationships, how it affects your interactions with others, not just for the immediate duration, but over long term. And then when you begin to contemplate in this manner, then you begin to realize the negative consequences of anger, and as such you have all the kind of motivation to overcome this particular emotion when it arises in you. So this is the manner in which one approaches the process of transformation. Now coming even closer to the Buddhist spiritual practice, then one begins to contemplate about karma. Karma simply meaning action and its consequences. And then we begin to kind of think, not just in terms of this life, we begin to think about in terms of the consequences of our actions in our next lives too. So this is the manner in which we can understand the cultivation of spiritual practice in terms of transforming the mind. Yes. Are you able to follow along with the discussion so far? Yes.
니 그런 적이 단다 지기야 간지 시우디가 수지 주자만다 사와다오다 텐도 두선데 티니야 버라 안전 잠자 카투카투 다 싱기도 살아 제래야 만데 템바지디로 체다 소 nen가도 통기도네 아니 디스티 티토네 버레스라.
So at this point I would like to encourage you to take notes if you find something that you can relate to, or if you find something to be important. Because even though we might feel like, okay, I understand this perfectly, and we kind of just take it in that manner, then later on it will turn out that we totally forget about what we discuss. So if you find anything you can relate with, find anything that you feel is important, I encourage you to take notes.
되는 참 추르라 단단하디 가는 대시가 저 가능한 참 지버려라 진짜다 제가 참 대원대보다 동해면도 지지인 거지 아니 가랑 저기 딱 하려고 님은 하시지마도 요 말에 디 나로라 지 그런 적 몰라이네 수수 신고에게 대박 하려는 건 하고야 지체 내가 저희는 강의 주의 수수 강시 받다 지금 배간 라고 옛날에 대응가라고 옛날에 지코랑 알아 저기 제자주라 대간만 pon고 옛날에 강의 주의 줘라 안 된듯이 아니 알아서 이게 주의는 오늘 전에 가르치는 저런서 좋아 가르치는 유튜브니 막 내가 가르치는 따다 유튜브니 되게 무슨 소리야 되는 거니 아주 그거 좀 붙이랬어.
So I would like to ensure you that we are all the same in sense that we are spiritual friends now. It's just that I'm sitting here on this particular seat that it appears that you and I are different, that there is some sort of gap between us, but we are the same. We are human beings who have the same want to be happy, not to be suffering. So as such, we are all same. We are spiritual friends, and we only have a few days together. So we need to make the most of this time, and as participants, you should be not hesitant about asking questions, about sharing your opinions, about communicating effectively what you wish to gain or what you look to learn from this course. And if we are able to do this, then as the instructor, we can kind of address this better in the upcoming days, and we will try to address your questions when we explore the text with examples, with analogies, with the root text itself. So we are all here to kind of make this an effective and meaningful interaction for the next few days. And I would like to ensure that the translator is up to the task. He can effectively translate your questions. Yes.
진짜 아니 드네이데 치란절로 도바 카레이너로 지금 간전 나자래 지금 차고래 체고래 배고래 이렇게 상마 카레이너 치란절다 간다 간서 지기 수수기 대화 되네요라 지 셈바지우에서 카레이너 파 짱마로 서야 실리워라 출래 제더라 근데 이제 치란절 도반난도 메바 카레티에네티 간전 내 저투 들마트네 미심발게 테네 카레이너 체라 어딘지 아니 따따 어딘지 치르시스라
So really, I want to stress it that we are all one and the same as we attend this course together. So as such, do away with any sense of hesitation, any sense of doubt that you have with regards to any kind of questions and so forth. We will try to address this as effectively as we can over the course of the time. And it is better to kind of make your doubts clear with the time that we have rather than walking away with the same doubts that you came here with.
다다나가 뒤와지라 뒤와들라 칼라는 키란스 대웅고 베미주라 티트네 카르진 펜도들라나 콘도 카시 따 델랄레 아니 수수시 심바지 시니로 다간서 심바지 시로드네 그 느박하고 말라 근데 인상 키란게 수수기 미조지라 다가 대웅고 비준지지라 온디 아니 호데티스 스나로 치스라 안딜라간서 바벨레지라 아니 지나이 지웅 거라네 양아서 나죠 오르도마 렌지레 레고라 이네 미소수야 미지거라 어디 갈라간서
So then I want all of you to kind of answer this simple question. What are the intentions or the expectations with which you approach this course? Simply, what do you exactly expect to learn from this course? And I find it very, very important to ask this question and to hear from you. Because if we kind of begin to explain the text simply, then I think that many of you would feel that your intentions and your expectations with regards to the course is not fulfilled or is not addressed. So to make sure that this doesn't happen, I want to hear from all of you.
띵어도 주고 지디 칼라는 달हडु समस्या सावले होला र त्यो सुसु संजुले सिधै खोदिने जिरे खोदिने सुसु डिपुरो छ चिकचे त्यही फेन्तो द आदि सुसु नालोला तबायना फाच ट्रेला फेन्तो रे अनि 수수기 코란적인 시고에 미딩한 하고는 들라야 내제 토에게 제바더니 레더라 저디 아니 디갈란 찬즈 가는 것은 지성로시스
And I find that this exercise also helps to break the ice in some ways. And then also maybe by listening to others, then we might also be able to kind of broaden our perspectives and broaden the intention or the expectation with which we approach this particular course. So today we start from the back. Yeah.
I think in this journey, half of my age, I mostly consider the body and not focus and not giving importance to the mind. So it's been 3-4 years. I'm right now doing the window shopping and exploring different shops of just understanding the mind. And I'm loving it, and it's beautiful. In terms of expectations, I think I'm already enjoying it. I let myself open to come things to me.
Yes. Tini Kuraming la vinot yisra. Ni Kurang gida message jurim nala ra. Thanda bodo ni zoda lubula edil pe kechimbo zigi yisra. Lubula jizin chiye tajong chiye de zera. Ni simla edil kene shira matene de yisra. Ta ina ya ani lo sum shiz ngone ni simla jura. So simla edil thonan chiye gozu yisra. Kurangi thonan chiye gozu yin la de zuma pe de do ji shangda. Nanzo nyobja da jaga do na ni songang khare la gigung gala khare tam de ti tayong ra thambo. te da wo chene ta Kurangi lai di chik luk ra luk da mindala sem gi kola ni chik luk chuluk ra luk da mindala sem gi kola ta khare khare she do de ta gi yes ra ani thanda bu ta jo gi jurim na la ni pe da minda mambo she dus ra di Kurangi de ba khangi dus ani Kurangi da zinda dila nyamshu che go gi goba la tin mix ke mes ra tagarang sem gi kola ni chik ra ani khande do ti de shedang khande do ji do ra wa tin de do chi kola is your name Noah.
And I didn't live up with expectations. I just know that what I need to know and to learn I will. And that's not for me.
Tini Kuraming la Noah isra. Ni message rewa dende do dende ke mesra. Ta ina yama tiyung de zambasra. Ani chi soso gi kodo saba ani chi shin yo gi rewa jagi yes.
My name is Avi. I partly came here to sort of get away from the rush of my regular student life as a student, like as a friend or something. This is kind of acting as a break, and I'm also learning a lot of new things about mental health itself. It was, by me, it was disregarded for a very long time. I'm here to learn how to take care of myself. I'm also here in case I find a way to get rid of a few bad habits, specifically like procrastination or laziness.
Tini Kuraming la Avi isra. Ta Kurang de la le goya gi jumsen so di susu gi medicine ta khonsen ra baji ra. Parseng ra baji chidu le ba isra. Pena cha shena Kurang lobtru gi message yores ra. Yang pama gi puin be message yores ya. Yang chokbo in be message yoras. Ta desu sangman ne tis thang ra bachi ne ra. En susu la parseng tuzu chi kodu le ni yong isra. Ani ta samlo chi tong yung de zamba ani zo Kurang gi rewa do khari la nasra. Kurang gi thanda bodo ta nganzo gi tesa konzo thanye di pechi tangda semkam choden la chi. Ani semkam choden de la thanda bodo ani thonanda yashira che mesra. Ta di kechimbo jimba thanda ani ngoyong go dusra. Susu gi susu la ani dakje khande che gore ya la ra. Ani migi zo chik di ta susu gi komshi dukja inde ra. Tizo ani donglen che thoya gi rewa chi gi yesra. Komshi dukja la na mixu karne la na thanda nganzo chawa nyenshin gi lelu la gira. Chawa chirjang la gira nyenshin. O tende gi komshi nyamba jiyo di ani khande donglen che thobe rewa yo la gira. I didn't quite catch your name. Thalia.
I think I came to learn about different way of life of my own, and maybe to find out what it is to have compassion for others, and how it can be part of my life, and maybe to get tools.
Las. Tini Kuraming la ani Thalia isra. Ani Kurangi da rewa tso do di ani chik namji susu gi mezi kedang do jira. Tida ani menja we yora. Chik tende gi mezi kedang do khande du la ne yora thap do.
수수 남디 미지 제다 만다
menja thapshi khande du do ya.
최체네
O tende do samlo tangi yesra. Ani perna cha shana susu gi ani mezi gi jurim na ra. Nyingji la ya tende khandes nyamlen che gore laglen ta gore la ya tende gi thapshi do ra. Tende chinyi ye gi rewa chi gi yes.
My name is Asha. I came here because I want to feel more at peace in my life, and I want to understand how to let go of certain attachments that I have, and yet still remain in love with life and enjoy my life.
Kuraming la ashna isra. Ni zo de la yongo migu de da medicina la chik shidi papep ra. Tinde yong chigi ni rawa chigi esra. Ani digi jurim la ani susu medicina la da chakpa chisa ra. Chikpa chakshin ra. Chakpa chisa gi ni ta yu la na tinde mangbo yu esra. Ta dezu khandes le tong tu resra. Tinde chigi tabda wachila ani rawa chigi esra. Ani dinde gi chakpa chisa gi yu de la le tong che nesra. Ani susu gi mezi che la yang tandung ya towa yu jo ra. Tinde chigi ani tabshi ra. Tinde tabshi chila ani rawa chigi es.
차세 유도 빵네 소소기
mezi nala mezi che la towa da kala kunzu gi tsewa le peshu tang da tsikti.
My name is Julie, and I am here in this course with the intention I need discipline. And these texts really help me to build a practice every day and to deepen this discipline. So I'm really here to have more practice around texts and themselves.
Tini Kuraming la Julie isra. Ta Kurangi in kulong da ojira. Zinda de la nyamshu che gwe so de ta Kurangi mezina la digzuk gwira. Digzuk go de dusra. Chik ani tanda tsawa de jo ani ma lo yong de zambasra. Ni nima la ma lo yong de zamba ani nyiri ki nyamle ra. Che la ani chik shuche masona pen shuche mo to dusra. Ani tigi nyamle tigi la tene ani susu mezina la chik digzu do bjera. Tende ro jirang shingi ani chun to dusra. Che zan tsawa di ting saba ko di ting saba yong ra. Tende che do yong is. Yes.
My name is and I am here basically to learn how to calm my mind and actually understand as to how to practically apply the concept of emptiness and bodhicitta in my daily life. Gone through it, read it, but how to actually apply these two concepts in my daily life to become a better human being.
Yes. Tini Kuraming la digvijay insra. Ani Kurangi tso di kulong la na rewa do di da susu gi semjiyo ra. Di shidil hingja pagpebo yongagi ani bezun chi yosra. Ani kayo la gi pasamlo chita yon nasra. Tanda nganzo gi tomba nyi la do ra. Tomba nyi gi shirap. Tina shin ani nganzo gi chanju gi sem la dinde ra. Ani dezo kayo la gi ani mezina la ra. 수수 셈라 시딜레야 치도라 냠랭 간데 체고 레라 저라 디고스에 치도 용기였을 yes. Yes.
Lior, I'm here because I just feel that my mind is a really bad friend. I mean, sometimes it can be kind, but most of the time it's just a really bad friend. And sometimes even an enemy.
That's it. Okay. Tini Kuraming la liyo insra. Tini Kurang de la yonggo jumzen tso di susu la tsowa khande do chungo de la na susu ki sem disra. Ani chokbo dukja jire do samsam tsowa yonggo dusra. Samri ta sangbo do yinsi gi resra. Ina ya ani jundu mata yonde zamba susu ki sem di tis chokbo dukja da buchi redusra. Gap kala ani dai ngo la yang judu dus. Che zanta di donlen che chi do yong ila isra.
kare di
다 수수기 쌤디 초보 님바도 많이 받치더라. 근데 동네 치야지. 됐어. 외샤. 따라.
I struggle with mental health and physical health issues, and I am looking for, I guess, how to be more
Tini Kuraming la Tara insra. Ni da Kurang la kanyi chishu di ni Lusim Nija ki Treden ki kanyi yusra. Lubugi Treden la kanyi yusra. Simji Treden la kanyi yusra. Ni tela tenza ni da Kurang ki migi tsobo do dis ta susu ki ni mi shen la ra. Simba sangbo ra. Kante si che tugi ra yusra. O tende ki tapshi do chila begi yusra. Ni shen la simba sangbo tsamma imba susu la yang ra. This Semba Sangbo Che Tendegi Tapshi Chiko Dusra. Kainsana any Susu Chigbo ina any Susuma Sem Nemia Ra. Any Sem Shidilhinja Sue, the Soti is Lelabo Dusra. In the Mishenyam do any chick Tungo Yuduzambara. Any Controdola in Luzamba Pe Kabo Yudus Kran Lera. Cheza Ti Cheza any Mishendala and Semba Sangbo Che, Susula and Semba Sangbo Che Tapshi Chiko Dusra. Any Quran la Lusim Nija ki Treden la Kanye Yusra. And Cheza Mishen da Rani Nija la ni Susuki da Sangbo Kandes Chetugre la Jira. Tende ki Tapshi Jiko dos, Kainsina Susu la ni Chik Dengzo Shukchumbo Mebe ra. Tende ki Kanye and Chimbo Jius. Yes.
My name is Anna. I am here because the aim is to cultivate a little more my spiritual journey. And yeah, I needed like a break just for myself and for my soul. And also to find or gain tools or more knowledge about how to develop a calm mind, because sometimes I get overwhelmed very easily, and just the mind goes and makes like these kind of scenarios, and I think that I want to gain some tools through this text to learn how to calm the mind.
Tene Kuraming la Ana isra. Ta Kurang de la Yongo ezo di ta Suzuki Chuji Nyamlen Jira. Di ting zoro ta anchi do Yongo isra. Ani chikta ani Susula da Konsen la ne parsing chi gode dosra. Ani zo di da Kayo la yogi ni Nyamlen lamna Suzuki sem di da chik tenju beo nando mangbo ra. Tende yudu zamba ani sem nangla Suzuki da chikhala or. Trumda masuna daminda shede jora ani namdo mambu chayango dos dit namzu dit shiwa soyara sem korang ani shidilinja ra pa bebo soyala ani tapshi dawera tende ani kari na tende jangi dos. Yes.
Hi, my name is Amrina. So I have come here to really have an open heart and open mind for all kinds of emotion, because it actually gets difficult. So I'm hoping for something experiential, that because we might read and learn a lot of things, but when we experience something, it stays. So some meditative practice or something experiential along the lines, because I've been struggling with it's not the thinking part of the emotion, but the physiological part. That physiological thing, it remains, like pounding heart, or you feel that sadness in your body, and there is no thoughts to work on, but these things you feel in your body. So something experiential to actually have that openness towards every emotion.
Yes. Dene Kuraming la Amrina isra. Ta nganzogi ma chabda ta indi zamba injina la ani kharsa lo kuyangbo ani ning kuyangbo len tongshaira. Ta o thanderang lira. Kayo la igi ngone lokha kuyangbo ning khayang kuyangbo ra. Tende ji gi ani yong gi ani tapshi tende ra. Chi raya gi rawa jagi yusra. Ta zo kurangi la di la git. Ta nganzogi chi ma kanishi lok chena ra. Mamboji kodo da tende da yongrawas. Ine ani nyamso lang la jora da. Nyamnyong korangi june ra. Chi shen di ani pe kechimbo tongo dosra. Kainsena ani chik gomja na masona ra. Tapshi dende do ji rana yabu dosra. Ani pena chashana Kurang la ani chik nganzogi da semso dami da mamboji yongyo ra. Semso mamboji dami mamboji yongdo zamba samlo tangye dende ko la kanye chi mindus ra. Ta ina ya pena chasha na ngamda do shuchimbo chena di semso chi ra. Ani sem kurang la ani dagaski kharsa orda. Juwa ra. Sem kurang la dagaski shujen tegi wa digi kanye sugu mindus ra. Ta dende semsorji chundu zamba lubu kurang la ngamda shuchimbo sorgoda. Pena chasha na.
Sem la kangi tena. Sem la kangi tedi gala ni lu la kangi mo.
Lu kurang la ngoyo ngodadi. Pena chasha na nyingka shuchimbo dawe dawa. Ani sem chonang yudu zamba lubu kurang na la chik sem ki chonang di tsore dawa. Wo dende ki kanyi shuchimbo yoyosra. Dende kanyi yoza ani kurang ki she gowe jumsen di insda. Chik lo ti ra. She dende chaya ki geja mayimba. Kayo layo ki ngone kora nyamle, nyamnyong ki teng neyo ra, chik nyeshe la ne, dende doji nye ki rewa jagi yos.
I'm here because in different aspects of life, whether it's work or relationships or helping others, I'm sometimes not able to do the best possible that I want to or what I want to achieve because it's perhaps my mind comes in the way or other people's voice comes in the way. So there are different ways in which my mind can go off track and maybe it's feelings of inadequacy. So how to deal with these things and how to do the best possible work that I can in every aspect.
Tine kurang ming la gidan shu insra. Ta dila yong goye gi jumzen la de zamba da suzu gi mezi gi namba mangboji la samlo tango dosra. Suzu gi lega gi chone samlo tangna asra. Tine di mayimbe suzu gi ni ta khalawar. Minyam do dewa yora. Pama binchi la soba, shaingi tropo la soba, dende gi dewa ra. Dende do la ta yindu zamba ni minyam do dewa lega do la ta yindu zamba ni suzu gi da khang thada yakshu di ni chema thuba ra. Ni yakshu di maduba. Dende gi tsawa shu chimbuji legi dos ra. Ni di pechen chik di suzu gi sem di suzu gi tongzin chema thuba. Ni di ni mi shengi chi labju lenjo mambuji yora. Dende gi shu jengi chini yongyo yosara esra. Ni dende mambuji yongdo do zama ni suzu sem na la ta nge chi resa ma re sam yora. Nge gi chi junsa ma re sam. Ta nganzo gi sem shu cha tani la nyebe lelo do lagira. Dende gi nawa do shukchambu legi dosra. Ta dezo meze na la ni kandres dongle chego resra kayo la egi. Dende gi tapshi chi la ni nye la rewa jegi yos. Yes. You want to? No. Okay. You want to? Okay.
Motivations of bodhicitta also a lot better and to try to find more personal meanings for it through this reading and through discourse.
Tini kuraming la riya insra. Ta nganzo gi injina la gobjo dhawarang shayora. Lo kuyangbo, nyingka kuyangbo lang shayora. Tini kuyangbo la di zamba ni mezena la nyamyung kari chuna yora. Samlo kuyangbo. Misu tu na yara. Ni samlo kuyangbo. Tinde chiye gi ni chik tapshi do yora. Wa tinde do chi nye gi rewa chi gi yosra. Ni susu gi namju chi samlo kuyangbo ra. Semba chenpo kuyangbo chiye tapshi chi du zamba tsamzam ani susu semdi tis tongzin tugu me dosra. Ani tongzin ma tu zamba ani chik susu gi kunung di ya chudruya. Tena shi ani chiksem la dizue shira medea o tindero mambore yong dosra chezanda zinda de la nyam shuchine ne nganzo gi tsa de zuma lo yong de zamba ani lokha kuyang bola na khande re ro ani kunung la du zamba tembo khande nya go re ro ani chik sudrim la na dizu la na ro ani khande sungu re la jora tinde ko la ani nyamleng gi ngo chene ro ani khande khongsu chu go re tinde shik shen ge re wa chi yus
How did that? 이 칼라나 야보더라 수지 파타간조 파이 코란즈 산수 사마신 야보 지단간조 밀레들 산는다 말이라 지 끼네 지터네 산단다 말이라 다사 지지를 따위는 간 산는다 말이라 아디 베츠지 카레 하고는 첨는데 하고다 정가나다 잘라다 말이라 다 녜도 지따위는 디데 카레 수 공고를 삼나야 지기 빼 가붕을 건도다 라 지상간조 로스니데 담는다 지바 디 쳔다 라 chigmagasal chigasaro chalarina kharina chilega cheina chiksano taina khanji su sano da mrira til teunde zamjang chikya kangye damra thea yura shin na dizila su donle chedan khande chegoyme chedan mi samji mambo nyewaina ai khoran jigin deba nashi jinga zo pa leja ro ra dilsan tanggo ji raido khasna namdi mi 참게 상징을 하고 말아. 온디 빼하고도 랭에마이나서 엔데로 치디가라 아니 럽두들라 펜토니로 코란즈디 우고에기 미유들이야 내지라나 기우이라 술리디가라 아바똥발레야 파르디가 똥바도나 야문다 세상은 저 거르무 가리는 이마 유유이나 마보이나 파기 미들라 징더바 가야지다 코란이 미스나라 산나다야기 좋았다야 소투나 야부더라 인지민이한테 남바간라 추지야 된들라고 말아 간지간저 생기 대지지 추갈레레 디 대지디 다가 산다서 디리샤 예망하나 디셰 마주 단다가 디라서 당아디 미스나 딜레 jonjon체나 갈레 펜토 딜레 중서레사 라 진대지 미지 가서 지난 가나서 마rum바디 사자왕 한망한망한만 마유리 람사 빵토에 갈레 가버래 이내야 캐나저기 추려야 지 되냐지 레바삼이 야버러 라 단다에 단대기 뒤줄에 네 아니 뒤줄 쳐바진 차도 다 베베 가서 시바이나 사가 다와기 뒤제 드린으로 있는 쳐바정아 라 아니 쳐바정아들 뒤제 순정이 있어 사지 좀 내기라 아니 그 땅바다 상제와다 아니 그냥에 렌데비 뒤숨자리 드리니 이마치를 중조로 쓰고라 또 지난에 힌두쇼에 계산을 쫓아서 거기 풀문란에 어떤 담도 있어라.
Okay, so good. It's very good to hear these varying and different perspectives with regards to the same course, the expectations and the intentions with which you approach this course. And I think when we kind of listen to all these different sharings, then we really kind of come to understand that as human beings, we all have different ways of approaching things. And I think this is very, very important to take into account. And that we have different ways of processing things. We have different ways of looking at the same thing. And if we kind of cite a small example, normally we kind of forget this, the fact that not everybody looks at the same thing in the same manner. And many of our problems actually come from this. I think it is important to appreciate this. For example, if you go to a marketplace and there's different clothes on display, then I might look at the clothes and then begin to wonder to myself, like, who in their right minds will buy such clothes? But it's in the market, that means there are people who buy these clothes. And so this simple kind of example highlights the fact that human beings have different ways of looking at things, different inclinations and so forth. And if we are able to kind of open ourselves to other people's views, other people's perspectives and so forth, then maybe therein itself is a tool for us to overcome our problems by kind of broadening our perspective, to look at it from a different angle, from a different perspective. Now, coming back to the purpose of this sharing, as an instructor, it helps me to kind it helps me to put the course itself in a relatable framework, trying to kind of take into account your expectations and intentions, and to place the teachings in that particular framework. And then in that framework, maybe you can find something which can practically help you transform your lives. And you might be able to find some things that you can pick up and cultivate it in your daily lives to see some changes. So this is exactly what we meant when we say that when we are talking about spirituality, it's a process of transformation. So as such, we look towards overcoming the negative qualities of the mind to hopefully transform them into a positive quality of the mind. Now, from a Buddhist perspective, this is not an easy task, simply because as Buddhists, we talk about past lives. So as such, from countless past lives, we have an affinity towards the afflictive emotions and so forth. So as such, it's not an easy task. But the fact that you have come here with the aim to cultivate a spiritual practice in itself is a good thing. It's a very commendable thing. And particularly, this is a very, very special occasion actually. Today is the 15th day of the 4th month in the lunar calendar, in the Tibetan lunar calendar. So on this day, the Buddha was born, he attained enlightenment, and then he passed away from this world on this same date. So as such, for Buddhists, this is a remarkable occasion. And for you to kind of come here with the aim to cultivate a spiritual practice, to learn and explore a spiritual text in itself is very, very auspicious.
아니 키ranzo ngola tanaga 이 바 티와 나시 키ranzo ngola 서서 카레 예네라 산수답문에 참아 지 카세 틴세지 아니 티와나스 투치스라 당아지 딜 레저 우리가 친구 상로데 엔데지 kho야만 답변은 예 있던데 너들 레저이나 콘서 뭐 그거지 레레 삼에 지고 마이게 라 tanda nga mi chu chusum chu shi do ti ge pa chu samay do na che be cham dil mi chi ge la chana la lap cha ra tende indi ga la ani chame gi di ga la ani do na che wa na pa de wa ya di ga la se bu ma cha wa na pa chu ga la zo do ning che ra di pe ki cham res.
So then I would like to thank all of you for sharing your expectations and intentions with us. And now, as I try to address each of these sharings over the course of our class, over the duration of this class, and maybe even in the next class, then as I try to address this, please do not think that I'm only addressing a particular sharing. I want to all of you to kind of listen into the discussion. And I think because when I kind of address each of these, I'm not addressing a particular person. I'm trying to address the whole group. So as such, try not to listen to these. Try not to kind of approach. When I approach it in this manner, when I address these sharings in the coming classes. Yes.
Tiga tanda khartes la ye ma zo chinju ga de gen za lo jo cha do ra ta na che la ta na yi chin la ta na yi ji zo chwa ti ra tiwa ti ta gen yi de la ma le jo ra ta di jo lo ta kashi ta chinju ye re to na chi ma re ko le re sam de me ta di war ina chen zo me ge ma cha ja re ani so zo lo jo nam de no ma shi yu ji chan sang 상마 아니 맛이 딱딱 열을 튕기 들어간 거라 있음 말에 근데 이디 아니 저들한테 슈거야 그래요 말에 이내 거다가 나랑 이모 친구가 근데 통과라 어디 지니 쉬래.
So this reminds me, as I kind of give you this instruction, this reminds me when I was studying as a nun and in my class, and I give you this instruction because from my own experience, when I was in the class, of course, in the class there are students who are really invested in the study of Buddhism, who are really invested in their studies of dialectics and so forth. So these kind of students, they pay attention to everything that the teacher says. But there are some students who sit at the back, and then they kind of get the feeling that, okay, he's not really addressing what I did wrong. He's addressing something that someone else did. So they don't pay attention to what the teacher is saying. And I'm not saying that you would approach it in the same manner. You are all well educated. You have seen so much of the world, so I'm sure I do not need to kind of stress it too much, but just to be on the safe side.
Tatana the theology lasra. Karangima ani lupul testana chains. And the same the Anishiratana Jimmy and the Loni Sunjingala, same Glatati shadow, the Tonache, and the lesson Susa. That did it, Tanganzoge, Louis the same down the Missy de la Church and Lens Hadigal, Kuninjal and Doyra. Oh, that same Chipudi on the Joatan and the same Chipudi, the Geshema Shaman, but the same Joatan, the Geshe. Inea, the Nanganzo de Ludi, not the Sajani, Lady Pumbujil, Tungudala, and they lose the same Nigaland, Bekachambara. 가시기야 아 땅가서 지게 나치진 냠내 지게 레디가 수수 룰라 떠나치 마제 가른 나는 나주 나네 해제 마제 아니 지게 거라도야도 샷 찍찍 수수를 달리지제로 떠나 마테 근데 지는 주만 내봐 자네 한테 강티니르와 나 가시 베드 거라 알루치 풀라세네 셈기 가도 남도 샤당다 들바지 셈기 강에들 동네체도 산노마다 예리라 다든데 인디가 인자를 패키지 뭐라
So then one of us talked about in their own lives, they didn't really pay attention to the mind, and they have kind of invested a lot of time and energy into taking care of their body, and that it has only been 3 or 4 years since they have started to pay closer attention to the mind. Now, from the Buddhist perspective, the mind and the body are interrelated, and the body serves as the vessel for the mind in this life. So as long as you take birth, then you have the body-mind complex, and the body which serves as the vessel for the mind needs to be taken care of. Now, even though when we talk about the spiritual practices which are aimed towards next life and so forth, then of course the mind takes the place of importance. But in this life, the mind, since it is the vessel of the body, which since it is the vessel of the mind, then we need to understand that how closely they are interrelated, how closely they are interdependent, and if we are able to understand this, then we can kind of understand the relationship between the two better. And then if we understand this relationship between these two better, then we can learn to take better care of our minds and our bodies. Because it is the case that some people kind of forsake their physical well-being in the pursuit of their spiritual practice, and then there are people who kind of only focus on their physical well-being and then do not take care of their mental well-being at all. So maybe both of these approaches are ill-advised. Yes.
근데 저 가시 엔드도야. 자세로 되네요. 시 생이 줘야 돼. 쇼하고 내가 런지체 줘봐줘. 아니 걔자 베린도 되니 따냐르니 수수 룰라 떠나지 마지 엔드도. 그래. 아니 타마들지 기히데데 차온다. 개바차나야. 아니 시라 책임 마대니로 등이마 근두기 니마지 송사 아니 그래서 다지기 잡에 참아 약고 차니 안 다지기 파제도 제 겁을리디가 아니 지금 나셔 나자 괜찮지라셔 다 뜻가서 내가 되는 제요 말아 룰레 떠나제요 말아 아니 다 괜찮는데 가라 개체야 말아 송다 드나시기 안주기 남자 주디 아니 쇼갱하고는 람바니 건다 인자를 때 개체 버리시라 룰레야 떠나제다 안 세메야 딱 제고의 개체보다 같이 류페야 보이나야 셈도 다니면 생 남도 담으라셔주 베 가르삼바다 가르치 정말 제대네 한수 룰레 강테 라 근데 이거는 아니 의미랑으로 제고다 인자를 했던 거야 라 이렇게 좀 버리셨어
Now, this kind of understanding of the importance of both the body and the mind in terms of taking care of both our physical well-being as well as our mental well-being was lost on the older generation of monks in the great monasteries of Tibet in south, because there were many cases wherein, like in these monasteries in southern India, the monks, they kind of dedicate their whole time and energy to the study of the Dharma. They wake up like at dawn in the morning, immediately begin to kind of engage in debate. Then they attend classes throughout the days, and then they kind of continue debating until midnight, and they don't pay any attention to taking care of their physical well-being. And then in the classical monastic education, you have to spend some 20 odd years to pursue the classical monastic education in its entirety. And come the time when they graduate to become Geshes, wherein they are supposed to impart these teachings to others, then their physical, then their bodies give up. They have some disease which manifests itself at that time. So His Holiness the Dalai Lama came came to meet a lot of Geshes, older monks like that. They really dedicated all their time and energy to the study of the Dharma, and when it is the time for them to kind of impart and give these teachings to others to effectively benefit others, then their bodies have given up at that point. So His Holiness the Dalai Lama says, advised all the monks that it's too late at that point. Even as the Dalai Lama, he can't do much. So it is important to kind of pay attention to both our physical well-being as well as our mental well-being. And it is important to observe the mind. It is important to take care of our diet, our physical well-being too. Yes.
Chesa Lucian di Karen and Joda, Pen Lula Nasara Jilina, carrying gom Yamneji Chibus and Chitumara, Suzu Ludiga Shadow, Lugan Natsakata in the Diga Shadow. Ra, Jinga Gomdo Jawa, Anangaji, Candido, Chibus, Nanning, a Tavia of Chilos and Susan Nagaduna, and the Diga Shatumunda. Ra, and the Ganashi, Lupe de Wache, Yan Sember two dinner, Yan Dr. Ditumara, Lucalically Lula Nuda. The parts of pain.
So in this, it is very important to kind of look at our own minds and bodies to understand the interdependent relation between the mind and the body, and how each has an effect on the other. For example, even if our minds feel at ease, but if our bodies are not taken care of, there comes a time when the body begins to give up, and, or the body develops an illness, and as such the mind becomes immediately disturbed, beset with suffering. So it's interlinked in this manner. So similarly, then even if the body itself is well taken care of and we do not pay attention to our mental well-being, then even if the body is very, very capable of doing anything, if the mind becomes disturbed, then the body cannot be used, can be put to effective use at all. Then you become distracted and so forth. So not taking care of one renders the efficacy of other totally useless. So it is important to kind of pay attention to both.
The Michele and Delia, Tawani, Colono, Diana, Tindeji, Candigation, Tindela Tillera, the Mijana Jipu, Tower, Suzopama, Tower, Legato, Tajik, like Dabuina, Takaji, so all Legachin, Samatan, the Chura, Tindi could pay Tellera. Hashi put Lega Gambra, the Teller Chan is Suzopole, and Daji Majin do. Tinde Chijim, Tarachai, Mazuchi, Color, the Delhaburit, and some the Kishamuda. Mikachi and San Tamatunia had in Dendra, who did it in a Shigan, Yondajan, want to chick Lelhabro, shower, children, the Union and Machine. Kanji and the Kangi Tinido, wanted to kitchen brushes.
So then, this kind of problem, I think, as lay people, this is a very real problem that one faces, because as ordained monks and nuns, we do not really have much to worry about other than our studies. And if we pay attention to our studies, apply ourselves to our studies, then it is a personal responsibility to kind of look after our own body. Now, as lay people, then you have a lot of responsibilities, familial responsibilities, expectations that you have fulfilled with regards to a relationship, with regards to your professional lives and so forth. Then you invest a lot of time, effort and energy into these things, and then you kind of sacrifice your mental well-being in some ways, you sacrifice your physical well-being in some ways. So it is important to realize first that these two are linked. Unless and until we pay equal attention to both, then we will begin to suffer if we neglect one for the sake of other.
Tadichira, Nipaticalana, and Koto Savara Chidra, Taping on the Dinalo, me to attend to war and to land or a patient all of Melody, Koto Sabata pretended I restra, Nipa.
So then one of us talked about how they hope to learn something new, to understand something new about Buddhist spiritual practices. I think as we kind of go through with the course, then I think there are a lot of new things that you will explore, and a lot of new things that you will come to know.
Teacher, and a chick color person do lay in Lada, and a sengam to the letter, a sengam to the letter on the Sanatan, Ra, and this child the chair, and a Kohi Duja Panachit Lada. That's also double competed or Duja in Bahako go at the package and Ra. That Duja in Bahako, oh, that thing a pango does. Penanga Miji Kalolana, that Chandro, the major Tongo there, Sula gave a silly gave a toina, and Susula nurse, Hella nurse, Susu pendula nurse, that pep ganging Suda. Tigi and Duja in Bahako, and Suzuki Tilla, Pap Manure Tayana, Calicali Mabas, Ra. That the Sanatan low you told in a Tara, and as long about the Jashadan Conto to Susu Tambo, Musi and the package. Pasha Jipanga, Paja di Payagi, Piggy Yudu Musunga, Ra. Musuni, the Anipacandes Pangodo, Telembo Hundred Tangodo. Tigi Mus Carne, the Shula Carne, the Pula Carne, the Samazan, Rashi Copango and Chamara. Shemanga the Scalica Cheda. Ra. Only Kawangi, she
Chilelo.
Na Chawangi, she lelo di Pango, the Ra. The did it on me march a ligdra. Tis not happening as a Cavairo. The Cavadel, the Suzuki Candichen, and Lerachen, that is good so jealous also and done the Chigli war. Zamdan legal Shineche go. Down to the Nanchu Tolena, Lelo Sundojura. Chawangi, she lelo, Daniel and Yibi lelo, Jilu be lelo soon shower.
So then moving on, one of us talked about how they needed a break from their lives, so and as such they came here, and more importantly they talked about how they have the need to overcome some bad habits in their lives, and particularly the habit of procrastination. So now, when we are talking about overcoming bad habits, as with everything from a Buddhist perspective, it is important for us to first recognize that such habits are indeed bad. Not just a recognition, but through a process of contemplation, you have to come to a conviction indeed that this is a bad habit. By contemplating on its effect on your lives immediately as well as further down the line. And then there is a purpose for this process of contemplation, because if we are able to kind of identify the moments, each moments in which these bad habits manifest themselves, then we can kind of address them head on in those moments. Unless and until we do this, then we can only just say that it is a bad habit, and then we do not really kind of work towards addressing it when we give in to these bad habits. Now, in particularly herein, when we are talking about procrastination, I can totally empathize with you, because personally, in this day and age, we have a cellular phone in all of our hands. So as such, when we begin to swipe on the phone, then we forget our duties of praying on time, doing something on time. We become distracted and so forth. So it is important to, as I said before, to kind of recognize that this is indeed a bad habit. And when we come to such a conviction when we begin to contemplate on its effect in the immediate as well as the long term. And this contemplation helps us to kind of address it in the very moment these bad habits manifest themselves. Now, with regards to laziness, then from the Buddhist perspective, we talk about 3 types of laziness. One is the laziness of procrastination. The other is the laziness of engaging in some meaningless things at the expense of something meaningful. And then the third kind of laziness is a sense of inadequacy, a sort of in modern terms, we might call it a sort of self-pity. So these are the 3 types of laziness that we talk about in Buddhism. Yes.
Pena din rahi ji jo ra chawa le lo sum pena chawa ngai shi la di gala ta pena nga chu che nyamne che ta ya ga de ta su mi le ro ba che na kharin chi yura le ga ya ding la ma je chawa ngai shi le ta ya de sha sho de sim ba ji chi sho le chawa nyem ba de la pa kala shen sha chi ni ti shul du ne chawa ngai shi le ra pena nga ta nga chi ta ne khande ro che ta khande de sha sho ti pa sim ba ji chi le 다 미제지네 지제마 다에나레 소소기 직상도 다에는 냠네 가르치에나 팀이 샤시 심바지 치길네 자와 심바지를 추메 주지랑 가서 되는 자왕의 시길래 놓으라 다 다니를 니빌로라디 당간 nga mi 심바다 되기 말에 nga라 암부투 보이 nga리 빠야 보메 nga 경고이 nga 네바이 소소소라만 nhập 주친 라 딘데지디가 nga 치투고 말에래 다니를 다달은 소소 다니를 니가라디 소소로만 돈주로 치죠 nga 가르치는 지도 말에 nga 미래 nga라 로요래 nga 가리는 창와제 라 근데 something nga 가리는 지도도 전전 가시기 리다 nga 코드 되게 말에 nga 직두를 맞으셔도 디 칼라나 다니엘 니빌레 로스라 장 아니 제루빌레로디 따가서 따케마 따트린 샤시 산이 치고서 나 산이래 따케마 나니 치고 아니 신이 든든 뭐장로도 아니 로장 아니 tene lo ma jang de ra tamu ni ma chi ja ni sha bo ja ni tene ma da wa tene ma par le ngan zo lo kha shi jing la sam de de tan do che mo tu la da o di ngan zo khalor da ji lu bi de ra
so then if we kind of explore this 3 types of laziness further, then when we look at the first, which is the laziness of engaging in meaningless things at the expense of something meaningful, then what do we exactly mean by engaging the laziness of engaging in meaningless tasks or meaningless things at the expense of something meaningful? So as an ordained person, it could mean that instead of doing your daily prayers and so forth, you begin to kind of engage in something meaningless, like talking with someone at the expense, at the time that you allocated for your prayers. And then with regards to a lay person, then if you begin to kind of engage in meaningless gossip at the expense of seeing through a wish you had to be generous to someone, to practice generosity, then this is what we mean by engaging in meaningless things at the expense of meaningful things. Now, the second type of laziness, the laziness of a sense of inadequacy or self-pity. Now, when we look at the original Tibetan, then it literally translates to bullying the self-entity, bullying yourself. So a sense of inadequacy, self-pity and so forth, in this type of laziness, you begin to think in terms of I am not like everyone else, in the sense that I am not capable as everyone else. And then you kind of look down on yourself, then you kind of begin to bully yourself in this manner. And this is the second type of laziness. Now, the third type of laziness is quite self-explanatory. It's the laziness of procrastination. Now, even when we understand it, it is important to understand the far-reaching consequences of such a laziness. Because we only think that, okay, when we say, I will procrastinate something, I will push this a day further, then there are things, if we think about it in our lives, things that we have kept pushing for, okay, next day, the day after, and so forth. When we look back on things, there are things that it's been years that we have been pushing off. And that's the far-reaching consequences of the laziness of procrastination. Yes.
네, 아니 당가서 아니 딜 산이 쇼게디 검자디 아니 고도 냠도라 딜 초초 아니 지라 안데 디가라 냠도 지로 치스 아니 곤달라 아니 페들레기르송다 대체 아니 잠잠 고조 지체나 파이라 한스 찍나 최근도 오더니 곤다 떼나디오라 근데 고조리야 고도 좀 되게 신데오라.
So then, now I would like to kind of address the structure of the course and with regards to some of these sessions. So the morning meditation and prayer sessions, you can join the nuns in their morning prayers and meditation sessions, the first session in the morning, so to say. And I think these sessions will be facilitated by Ani Dolmala. And then in the evening sessions from tomorrow onwards, it will be facilitated by Venerable Chirumoming Padunla. And then in the evening sessions, maybe we could also be open to the option of screening some movies, films, documentaries, if the participants are up for it.
테네 단다고주 레제 마사야도 산이 쇼기 저기 아니 단다가도 달로주 시지마다 아니 람존나서노마 슈차부조 간주 주제디라 안티 나로래 간주 마시용도가 저런저런 트워텔레리 디디가 트워 카레이너라 수 똑반놈도 창마 소로지스라 아니 소지 당아디 나디 직세고도 나트투마송사 안드 쳐고 말했으라 맞자만 한자래 세고야도다 셰고야도다 티와 마수사야로 되게 개구지메라 지당한지 시담민도 신유유라 제가 트워틀레 채와이나 괜찮아질래야 펜도 치아무시그라 원테니 지나 아니 니마 하시지면도 메와이나 양아주 된데 바지 수수기 지크 메스나로라 가델 장가도이 아니 드닝아티 장야지 장은 좋아지 테수사야지 소투에도 베케점 레스라 원디 쉐 아니 저런들 참마다 페이지 데브디라이지라 아니 디수추나 파라파라 로로치스라.
So then I will continue to address your sharings in the coming sessions. And now, with regards to the two root texts that we will study over the course of this retreat, then the two texts, when we look at it, they are very short, but it packs and condenses a lot of core and important practices of Buddhism into it. So as such, I would encourage you to kind of read through the text in your own time. Try to kind of understand and approach it in this manner. And if you are able to do this, then maybe in the sessions we have more lively dialogues, discussions about the text. And I encourage all types of questions or any kind of doubts that you have. They are welcome to be asked at any point of these sessions, because we only have a few days together. So as such, it is important to make this time that we have with each other meaningful as well as effective. So it should be the case that when you walk away from here, you walk away with the feeling that you are able to ask your questions, clear your doubts, not that you walk away with the same doubts and same questions.
대두지 뉴리데 디나로 수마나시 지간도 냐를 제투는 때네미 배우차야 되는다. 라 이내가서 따따지 갈카버려마다 근데 차되거든 뉴이네 그 배들이 삼나다서라.
Because as I talked about how the texts, the root texts in themselves are very short, But if we are being honest, even though it's very short, if we are able to practice all the things that are taught in these 2 short texts, then we would be indeed be a remarkable human being. So if we are able to kind of practice and inculcate everything that is taught in these texts, then really, if you would really walk away from here a different person. Everyone will begin to ask you, what exactly did you learn in the duration of this course?
Okay.
To
Just to make sure that I understood, when you spoke about laziness and self-pity, you spoke about punching yourself. So basically, you kind of say that guilt is self-pity and laziness. I understood correctly.
I didn't quite get it. Can you repeat the question?
Yeah, when you talked about the 3 types of laziness, you spoke about self-pity. And you said that because of that, we're kind of punching ourselves. And to me, it sounds like guilt. So you're saying that guilt is...
Guilt in terms of?
Self-guilt.
In terms of?
So you mean that is laziness in a way?
No, I'm trying to understand what exactly do you mean by guilt in this context when you say guilt. How exactly do you feel self-guilt? On the basis of what?
Because self-pity and lashing on yourself and blaming yourself, that sounds like self-guilt.
Okay. Tini tanda tiwa di dir do nganzo ki tangi la nyebe lelo la jura. Odi la ni nganzo ki ta susu la nyaju tangjo do re la ni deshe chen so as. Ta ko ki tiwa di digo yong do ani da konzo inji de la samdang nong de nire ro jing go da. Susu ki susu la nangi chen do bo chore jura. Tende ki choa shu chen bo jing go da. Ani Tedawe dangi la nyebe nyelo la edi yora, lelo la edi. Susu ki susu nangi chen yin sam ro jora. Susu ki ta nangi chen la na ta nganzo tim ki keja robo chagi ba. Tim ma yinba che ta susu chik.
Chuen ro.
Tende robo ji, tende chiki chowa chik la ngunzin chiki yore bes. Dangi la nyebe lelo la edi.
Chidangi nganzo dangi la nyebe lelo di pechi nushu pa la tes nyunyu ro dura. Karina ko chunjuga de me gege lobja te dang ina phama ge lobja te dang nga matu khana yo mar la chili da tang zo shasho pa de ma che chi ya tis singa thu mare nga phomur le do susu manya ja da nga ne ba nga khat de chang la da chogora ine ka jana net ta pe shulu la khaz de ndo di ga la ka chi gengo ine se shu da ra nga matu ka nga mere la chikle da chesa danda di chida dani le ni bi le zamza tsama le de yor nga thugu mare nga khoda dagi mare nga khoda ripa chipa mare ani nga khoda thenji chipa mare nga khoda juno shulu ine chipa mare sa susu la de nya cha ji le da ine di nanye chen la na da kema da susu la nga la di mi shemba le yo pa de nga la cha yo mare sa me ro ji ma to tanga pen dujare nakpure di tende chi de mare ra.
So then personally I get the impression that maybe in the Western world and Westerners do not really suffer from this type of laziness of a sense of inadequacy. I think Easterners maybe have this problem because when we are talking about this type of laziness, it's a sense of inadequacy that you are not capable of doing something. So as Easterners, then I get the impression that maybe there is less confidence in the things that we want to pursue because of conditioning, saying that I am a woman, I cannot do this, and so forth. And but this is not to say that no Westerner suffers from this kind of laziness, because I think everybody at one point in their life feels a sense of inadequacy, and then we become demotivated. At that point, it is important to kind of motivate ourselves, because look at a simple example of an old person who is hell-bent and very kind of insistent on doing something by themselves. And They simply do this saying that I am a human being, I am able and capable of doing this. So that is the opposite of this kind of laziness. And all of us can kind of motivate ourselves to overcome such a sense of inadequacy in this manner.
그래서 아니가 참 샤오라.
예.
근데 쇼랑 숨주 소직라. 상주 senju른데라. 과디.
So we stop here and we end this session with a dedication prayer. Sumchu Sochigra.
네, 잠깐만 봐요.
Page number 31.
31. 저도 인지 돌도더라.
Yur.
오예 상주
Sinjorimboche maje panan jejoje jebanyamba mebayang gone gonde pewa shoye
jambe
bae jida chemba dae gundo zambo deyan dejende Dedai kunji jisu daluji Gyawan deda danji redu Ngoye tisu shibi jawa tanji ji Ngoye kanlai chudu ngabadi Dagi gewe tsawan de gunjang Zambu shishi redu ngorai ji Pama sunjen tanjin dedan denji ji Ngendro tanji tadu tongwa Chanchu senpai kana sujupa Tedai kunji monan duchi Okay, thank you everyone. See you tomorrow.